Assalamu alaikum. Students, in last lecture we discussed about first line of defense, that was blood buffer, and it included bicarbonate buffer, that was the predominant buffer of ECF, phosphate buffer, that is predominant buffer of ICF, as well as protein buffer system including plasma proteins and hemoglobin. Now we are moving towards the second line of defense, that is known as respiratory mechanism, and we had discussed previously that it's a short-lived method, but it is not permanent. It is temporary and short-lived, but its action is instant. As far as respiratory mechanism is concerned, as lungs are involved in this system, it is involved in the maintenance of concentration of carbonic acid in the blood, that is H2CO3. And you know very well it is formed by the reaction of carbon dioxide and water with the help of enzyme carbonic anhydrase. As a result of metabolic activity, a lot of carbon dioxide is produced in tissues as a result of cellular metabolism, and that is involved in the acid base regulation. Respiratory center is located in brain, medulla portion of brain, that is very much sensitive to sense the pH changes. Minute quantity of carbon dioxide, minute quantity of bicarbonate level, extremes of pH, decrease of pH, these are all sensed by the respiratory center that is located in the brain. And according to the pH changes that is sensed by the brain, it is ordered to lungs and kidney and other blood buffering actions to remove the carbon dioxide from the body and to retain it in the body. So if there is a condition that pH is decreased, it means when pH is fallen, it is the condition of acidosis, and it will result in hyperventilation to remove more and more gas, more and more carbon dioxide from the body. That will lead to decrease the carbonic acid level in the blood, because when we respire at a higher rate, hyperventilation means to respire at a higher rate, we will remove the carbon dioxide from the body, and that will ultimately help to balance that excessive amount of carbonic acid that is being produced as a result of high amount of carbon dioxide. So a proton will be balanced, proton will be removed as a in the form of water. Now, this respiratory control is rapid and short-lived, as we have many times discussed, and this is the reason that hyperventilation or hypoventilation, it cannot be continued up to prolonged time periods because you will exhaust it. For a limited time period, this activity can be continued. So, fall in blood pH, that is acidosis, it will result in hyperventilation, and hyperventilation is the method to compensate the acidosis. Similarly, rise in blood pH when there is alkalosis. And fall and rise is from a normal value, and this normal value is 7.35 to 7.45. If pH is decreased, then 7.35 it is acidosis, and if it is increased, then 7.45 it is alkalosis. Hemoglobin as a buffer. Now, when we talk about the respiratory mechanism, there will be discussion of hemoglobin buffering action again, because this is the transport protein which is involved in gaseous exchange between tissues and lungs. So we will discuss the separate role of hemoglobin in tissues and in lungs. In tissues, what is being happening? hemoglobin is present in deoxygenated form, that is HHB, and this form is HHB, and this form is deoxygenated, while HbO2 is oxygenated, that will be present in lungs. Now what is the role of this deoxygenated hemoglobin? It will bind with the excessively present proton in the tissues. Now the question is, from where we are getting the proton in tissues? Cellular metabolism, cellular activity is very high in tissues, as a result of which carbon dioxide is produced. And when there is excessive amount of CO2 being produced in tissues, this carbon dioxide will react with water to form carbonic acid. And now this carbonic acid will dissociate in tissues as a proton H plus and bicarbonate ion HCO3 negative. Now what would be the fate of this proton? This proton H plus will bind with this hemoglobin that is coming in the form of HbO2 from lungs. This oxygenated hemoglobin in lungs is being converted in deoxygenated hemoglobin HHB. So this is how the hemoglobin captures the proton and relieves the conditions of acidosis. Now what is being happening on the opposite hand in lungs? In lungs, now that hemoglobin that is formed in tissues HHB, it will travel along with bicarbonate ion in plasma and it will reach to lungs. Now in lungs, what is the story? In lungs there is more saturation of oxygen, there is more amount of oxygen present. So when oxygen is high, the affinity of hemoglobin for oxygen will rise and it will bind with oxygen and it will release its proton. In tissues, the case was opposite. In tissues, there was acidic condition, and in acidic condition, the affinity of hemoglobin for oxygen is decreased, and this is known as Bohr effect. And when there is more proton, hemoglobin will release its oxygen and it will bind with proton that was occurring at tissue level. So that it is a dual function the hemoglobin is doing, that it is also supplying oxygen to the tissues that is required for the cellular activity and other metabolic reactions, and it is also capturing the proton as well. So in lungs, hemoglobin is present in oxyhemoglobin HbO2, and now what would happen now? That bicarbonate ion that was coming along with deoxygenated hemoglobin HHB from tissues to lungs. In lungs, when there is more oxygen saturation, hemoglobin affinity for oxygen will increase and for proton will decrease, because now the condition is less acidic as compared to tissues. So hemoglobin will release the proton in the lungs and it will bind oxygen being converted into oxyhemoglobin HbO2, and that proton will now bind with that bicarbonate ion that was coming from tissues and it is being converted into H2CO3 in lungs. And as you know, it is a weak volatile acid. It will be dissociated, it will be converted into water and carbon dioxide, and that will be removed from the respiration. So this is how the hemoglobin is performing very well in the buffering actions at tissue level in the form of HHP and in lungs in the form of HbO2. Now this slide is also showing the reaction that is taking place in lungs, that HHP deoxygenated hemoglobin is reacting with oxygen in the lungs being converted into HbO2, that is oxyhemoglobin, and proton will be released. This proton will bind with the bicarbonate ion that was coming from tissues and along with hemoglobin, deoxygenated hemoglobin, and it will be converted into acid H2CO3, and now this acid will be dissociated into carbon dioxide and water, and this carbon dioxide and water will be removed from the respiration. Now this slide is showing the same phenomena in the form of reactions, and we will start from the left top, where carbon dioxide that is being produced from metabolic activity in the tissues is reacting with water in the presence of enzyme carbonic anhydrase to form the carbonic acid H2CO3. Now what would happen? Please focus on the left side. Left side, H2CO3 is being converted into bicarbonate ions and proton. Now this is the proton that we want to buffer. That is the excessively produced proton in the form of carbonic acid, and this proton is going to change the pH, so we want to fix this proton. And now the fixing agent is hemoglobin, oxyhemoglobin, that is coming from lungs in the form of HbO2. Here you can see that 4 oxygens are bind with the hemoglobin. This is why that hemoglobin is a tetramer. It contains 4 polypeptide chains. So on each polypeptide chain there is a separate oxygen binding place. When you will study the structure of hemoglobin, you will come to know in detail. Now HbO2 plus proton is forming what? HbO2, oxyhemoglobin and proton. It will result in the formation of deoxygenated hemoglobin, that is HHP, and it is also releasing that 4 oxygen molecules, and that are going to supply oxygen in the peripheral tissues. Now as you can see, Hp dot to H plus, it is a deoxyhemoglobin, that is HHB as well. This HHB is going where? Now it is going to lungs, and along with bicarbonate ion, and in lungs it will find more and more oxygen, so it will bind with oxygen. And what would happen now? That proton is reacting with bicarbonate ion to form the carbonic acid, and now this carbonic acid will be dissociated into carbon dioxide and water, and this carbon dioxide and water will be released from the respiration. So this slide is showing the transport of carbon dioxide and buffering action of hemoglobin at tissue level and at tissue level and lungs. And it is also demonstrating the buffering action and acid base regulation of hemoglobin protein. Chloride shift. There is another very important and interesting phenomenon that is taking place with the hemoglobin protein, and the second name of chloride shift is Hamburger phenomena. This name is only given in Hashmi. So question in profs is sometimes asked as a chloride shift and Hamburger phenomena. So these two things are one and the same. So chloride shift would happen when there is increased bicarbonate ion concentration in red blood cells, and this happens when carbon dioxide is excessively produced as a result of high metabolic activity in the tissues, and it will be added up, it will be pulled up in the blood. And when the carbon dioxide concentration of blood is high, this figure is showing the chloride shift phenomena, and this circle is showing the structure of red blood cell, erythrocyte, and outside environment is plasma, blood, from where CO2 is being entering in the cell, as you can see. And why this CO2 is entering in cell? Because on the basis of concentration gradient, on the basis of diffusion, when there is high concentration of carbon dioxide in blood or plasma, it will enter in RBC, and it will react with water to form carbonic acid in the presence of enzyme carbonic anhydrase. This carbonic acid will be dissociated within the body of RBC into which ions, bicarbonate ions and proton. Now the fate of proton is very easy. There is presence of protein, protein hemoglobin is present in the RBC. It will capture proton and being converted into deoxyhemoglobin again. Now the reaction of carbonic acid dissociation was producing bicarbonate as well in the RBC. What would happen with this bicarbonate ion? Now as a result of this reaction, bicarbonate ion concentration is now high in the RBC as compared to blood. So again on the concentration gradient, as was the case with the carbon dioxide, this bicarbonate ion will move outside in the blood. And now when it is moving out, RBC cell is deficient of negative charge. So what would happen? This negative charge will be balanced by the entry of negatively charged chloride ion from plasma into RBC. Now this exchange of chloride and bicarbonate is known as chloride shift, shifting of chloride as a response of bicarbonate ion in exchange for bicarbonate ion is known as chloride shift, and this is a counter action. We have discussed in last lectures that chloride and bicarbonate are compensating, counter compensating to each other. When there is high amount of chloride, there will be decreased amount of bicarbonate, and when there is decreased amount of chloride, there will be more reabsorption of bicarbonate ion. As a result of decreased chloride, when bicarbonate ions are increased, this phenomena is known as hypochloremic alkalosis. Hypochloremic because chloride is decreased, and alkalosis because bicarbonate is increased. So this is all about chloride shift, and this is very much important. And I want to tell you the clinical significance of chloride shift as well, because when the question is asked, what is chloride shift? What do you know about chloride shift and what is its clinical significance? So there are 2 points that chloride shift is going to do in the body. Number 1, to maintain the electrical neutrality. Number 2, regeneration of bicarbonate ion, because as you are watching the slide, when the entry of chloride in the body, there is the regeneration of bicarbonate ion as a result, and when there is more and more bicarbonate ion being produced in the plasma, being produced and released in the plasma, and it will be reabsorbed by the renal mechanism, by the kidney tubules. It will help to establish and replenish our alkali reserve. And alkali reserve is very much important to maintain the acid base regulation, to maintain the acid base disturbance. When the body will be suffering from high acidic load, more acid production, more decrease of pH, more increase of proton, this bicarbonate ion will help to increase the pH and to balance the pH within a normal range, that is 7.35 to 7.45. So this is the end of respiratory mechanism, that is second line of defense. On tomorrow inshallah we will discuss about third line of defense, that is renal mechanism. Thank you very much.